Ugandan story isn't a new one. It's not about where we come from. It's about what can be accomplished when we're working, living, and growing together. It's about speaking the same language, the language of progress. We're Ugandans building Uganda with Ugandans, skilling Ugandans and developing competencies required in the oil and gas sector, partnering with Ugandan businesses to achieve greatness. We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
Ours is a vow to Simba, Najemba, and Kwetu to preserve the home they know, improve their habitat, and conserve and restore wetlands. Ours is a vow to restore, transition, and improve livelihoods of communities by empowering the next generation, protecting the vulnerable, and safeguarding cultural heritage and ensuring income generation through different activities. It's a vow to reduce the carbon footprint through promoting the use of renewable energy. A vow to work with authorities and host communities to promote forest conservation and awareness. That's why Total Energies has been taking action to ensure that the project is designed and implemented in collaboration with various stakeholders in compliance with the exacting standards of the International Finance Corporation and with the best social and environmental practices.
Renewables are the future, but what if there's no wind or the sun isn't shining? At Total Energies, we've got the solution: storage. The extra resource these energies need to balance the production and use of electricity. And this is what that means. At Dunkirk, we have built and commissioned the largest site for battery electricity storage in France. Its capacity is 61 megawatts, which keeps the electricity supply going for 1 hour in over 200,000 homes.
France has the target to develop the renewables in the electrical mix up to 40% by 2040. As such, renewables are bringing intermittency, variability on the grid. We need to have storage solution in order to balance the grid, which means just adapted the consumption with the generation at the same time.
In Dunkirk, Total Energies teams work together on the design of the installation to the supply of batteries by its SAPT affiliate, via the management of data estimating the use and sale of electricity and the storage capacity. The result was optimized project management and compliance with the highest standards of quality and safety.
We have built a power plant, a battery energy solution system. It is constituted by 27 SAFT containers, high energy intention products, which are connected with the power conversion system to the grid.
Let's zoom in on the heart of the system. The containers, 20 feet long and 28 tons. They use lithium-ion technology and deliver energy performance at the top end of the market.
The key advantage of lithium-ion batteries are several. One is the high density. Today, batteries can reach up to 400 watt-hour-liter in a very dense pack. Another advantage is that they can live long. Today, the life cycle is reaching up to 20 years. Another advantage is the efficiency. Today, lithium-ion batteries are reaching 98% efficiency, which means only 2% of the energy is taken from the process from charging to discharge. Also, lithium batteries are very cost-effective.
The result is an innovative bespoke site that helps to integrate renewables into the energy mix. And as our solution can be replicated all over the world, we have every reason to store tomorrow's energy today.
Good morning to you all. Allow me to welcome you to Total Energy's breakaway session on net zero ambition. My name is Zion Okama, and I'll be the moderator of this session. I am a senior business developer with Total on renewables, and I'll just take you through our agenda for today's session. We are supposed to have a signing ceremony for the solar project agreement, but we'll hold that until the minister and the PS are here. But in the interim, we shall have presentations from Total Energies. These presentations will focus on, one, explaining to you all Total Energies renewables ambition. Then we shall also present on what we are doing in the renewable space in terms of deploying renewables to fit into the transition agenda. Then we shall also look at the future of renewables. That is the geothermal project that will be presented. So our first presentation will be presented by Jean-Baptiste Chabat. Jean-Baptiste is a global business development manager with Total Energies, based out of Paris. And a quick introduction, he has been with Total Energies for 14 plus years in the area of renewables, and he has expertise in not only solar, but also electric mobility. And his presentation will be on our global renewables ambitions, but also to explain to you what we are doing in other countries outside Uganda. And so this will give you an insight. For many of you who think that Total Energies is only oil and gas, you'll be able to see that we have expertise across different renewable technologies. So I would like, we'll play a short video, an intro video for you all to understand. Then Shabat will start his presentation. Thank you. Jean-Baptiste, over to you.
Perfect. So, ladies, gentlemen, I must say that it is a great honor for me to participate in this conference as a speaker. By the way, thank you for the introduction. In my new position, I am in charge of providing required support from the headquarters to our network of senior business developers all around the world in renewables. And this support can be technical, commercial, or legal. So this morning I will have the difficult task to introduce you to the ambition of TotalEnergies in renewables, and I have like 20 minutes, but I think we'll achieve that. I guess you noticed that we changed our name to TotalEnergies, and this is to highlight structural change internally. And this transformation from an oil and gas supplier to a multi-energy company. In fact, now the decarbonization is at the very heart of our global strategy. And we had been able to establish first a roadmap, and we adapted the organization to facilitate this energy transition towards renewables. And this is what I would like to share with you this morning. TotalEnergies has made commitments to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 worldwide. And as part of this strong ambition, TotalEnergies has been able to build a portfolio. In 2021, we already had a portfolio of 10 gigawatts, more than 10 gigawatts. And I must say that we are confident we will achieve 16 gigawatts by the end of this year of installed capacity for renewables. In my speech, when I speak about renewables, I speak about solar and wind, right? And as you can see, we have strong ambitions for the years to come because in 2025, we want to reach 35 gigawatts, and in 2030, 100 gigawatts. And by achieving this, we will be one of the world's top 5 producers of renewables. That is something central in our strategy. You may think that it's quite ambitious, but I will tell you how we can get to that. But first of all, where do we come from? In fact, in the last 5 years, we had been able to invest quite significantly in renewables, but also low carbon solutions, with on average $2 billion per year of investments, in particular through acquisitions. And those are particular examples. And thanks to this, we have been able to build a large portfolio. We've seen that more than 10 gigawatts in 2021, 16 by the end of this year. And this is through the different sectors, technologies in the renewables. And thanks to those 5 years, we had been able to be present in 35 countries over the world in renewables. But we do not stop there. To meet our ambition, we have made commitments to accelerate the pace. You've seen that we were on average at $2 billion per year, but now we are ready, and we took commitments to have some investment from $3 to $4 billion per year. And as a great illustration of this internal change, for instance, we have more than 2,000 sites that has been solarized, and I must say that more than half of those solarized sites are in Africa. And if we want to go beyond, so what is our playground? In fact, we are looking at all these technologies in renewables, so large-scale solar, B2B, meaning behind the meter, for large B2B. Wind, we look at both offshore and onshore, and we are also looking at the battery storage projects. I guess you know that we acquired Saft, which is one of the world leading battery manufacturer, and that will support us in our development in battery storage. So just to take a few examples, but those are great illustrations of our expertise, both in the design and our ability to deliver. So those are projects for large scale. You can see, for instance, Prisca in South Africa. But as I said, we are also present for distributed generation projects, so behind the meter projects. And you can see that we take some efforts to make a good design for those distributed generation projects. And other good illustrations for onshore wind. And this is, of course, all over the world. Okay, so what are our strengths? I must say that it's, first of all, the people. We have a large team working on renewables, more than 7,000 people working on this field. And we have an expertise really across the entire electricity value chain, development, design, the project financing, and we build and operate. One of the key aspects that differentiate us is the fact that the customers know that we are a partner for the long run. Okay, so you remember I showed some figures with ambitions for 2025, 2030. In fact, we are quite confident with the current organization that we will be able to reach our ambitious but 2025 target. But to reach the 100 gigawatt by 2030, we need to go beyond. And that's the reason why we established a global worldwide network of senior business developers over 60 new countries. And that will be the cornerstone of our new strategy to reach 100 gigawatts. In fact, those countries have been selected because we will be able to leverage on our historical presence in those countries and on, of course, the renewables growth potential. And we can highlight that out of those 60 countries, 22 are in Africa. So for each of those countries, we have been able to hire highly qualified business developers that are responsible for initiating and accelerating the development of renewables projects. The clear focus is to identify utility scale projects at an early stage. Okay, and to achieve that, they are responsible for creating partnerships with local developers, but also with public authorities. And our goal is quite clear. It's to open these countries in the coming 3 years. So if we focus a bit on Africa. We are present for over 90 years now in Africa, and I must say that Total Energies became strong thanks to Africa. You see in the map the legacy business of Total Energies. But we have as well new ambitions in Africa. Unfortunately, today Africa only accounts for less than 3% of the world installed capacity of renewables when you combine solar, wind, and geothermal energy. But we still believe that there is a vast potential for renewables that lies within the African continent. As you've seen, Total Energies has always been a long-term partner for Africa. And today we are actively supporting Africa's effort to bring about the energy transition. And we will in particular rely on this global network of senior business developers, and in particular covering 22 countries in Africa to reach that goal. And Uganda, of course, is part of those countries. So Uganda is and will remain a key country for Total Energies, and will participate in its path towards energy transition, towards renewables. So that finishes my presentation, short presentation on ambition in renewables. So I'm ready to answer any clarification you may request or question.
Thank you, John Baptiste, for your presentation. And also, before we go into Q&A, I'll just give you some context locally here. He talked over 100 gigawatts globally, and Total Energies is committed to installing 1 gigawatt in Uganda by 2030. So we are also looking at, of the 1 gigawatt, it is from technologies of solar, wind, geothermal, and hydro, the conventional hydro. So that is our local context in terms of our global ambitions. So if we have any questions, both online and within the room, we could take them, we could field them.
Thank you, Total Energies. And thanks for changing your name. It sounds very futuristic as far as our energy demand is concerned. In context, Uganda here, we are a country currently investing heavily in exploration of oil. And we are not like a heavily oil exploration country. They say our oil is going to be here for 30 years and we are starting exploring it in 2025. Given the context that now we are transitioning toward renewable energy, won't the demand for renewable energy compromise our profitability? And also here, Total is heavily engaged here in investing in oil exploration. So the advancement of renewable energy right now, won't it affect the current investment we are putting in heavy in exploration of oil, because if the renewable energy become more efficient, yet we have invested colossal capital in oil and exploration, how do we reconcile the generation of renewable where we are transitioning, and also the investment we are making in oil and gas exploration in Uganda? Thank you very much.
Can we field maybe one or two more questions?
Thank you very much, Jean-Baptiste. It was a nice and informing presentation. My question is, I've observed that most of your projects occupy surface, in terms of surface area, they occupy a bigger space. So what are some of the strategies as we move along sustainably and reliably to find we utilize lesser space compared to how much you're utilizing now? Then my next question is on the issue of energy storage. One of the challenges we are facing on the solar side, for example, solar PV, is our batteries are not able to store enough. For example, you can't run on one battery for like 2 weeks. And before you know it, in like 1.5 years, you have to replace the battery. So what are some of the measures in place to ensure more is stored and maybe an increase on the durability when it comes to the material? And then what other means are you putting in place if we are to look at the renewable energies that specifically suit, for example, the sub-Saharan countries like Uganda? Are you looking at generating renewable energy components in general, or you also take into consideration the regional context of we are making this solar kit to suit a certain region? Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Kemtare Gladys Rochelle, a PhD student and lecturer at MOOPS. So my question is, you talked about the different sources of energy that you're going to put up, but when we hear renewable energy, it's always expensive. So what measures are you putting in place to make sure that it's not only reliable, but also affordable to the people in Uganda when it comes to using it? Because every time we hear renewable, it's always expensive. So what measures are you putting as Total to make sure that this source of energy that you're putting in Uganda will be affordable for each individual? Because affordability is very key, not only the energy being available, but also affordable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. I may take some of them, unless you want to take additional questions, Zion.
No, I think maybe before you respond, Jean-Baptiste, I would just like to recognize the arrival of Honorable Okasai Opolot, the State Minister for Energy, and his delegation from Ministry of Energy. So as I mentioned earlier, we shall have a signing session, but Honorable Opolot, when you joined us, we're in the middle of a presentation from one of our colleagues from Paris on Total Energy's renewables ambition, and we've just fielded some questions from our delegates present here. So, Honorable, if you'll allow me, I'll request Jean-Baptiste to quickly respond to those questions, and we shall proceed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It is a great honor to leave the floor to the minister, so no problem. There was a first question, which was regarding our ambition, how we can combine strong ambitions both in renewables and oil and gas. I must say that I do not have the mandate to discuss about our strategy and ambitions in oil and gas. So I will respond for renewables. As you know, we made strong commitments on renewables, with investment reaching now from $3 to $4 billion per year. And we have a particular attention to Uganda because, as reminded by Zion, we have the objective to reach a gigawatt using different technologies, either solar, wind, and we are also contemplating hydro. Really, the roadmap is there. We have put in place an organization in place. We are here for good in Uganda in renewables. This is my question for this first. This is my answer for this first question. The other questions were regarding the area that were required for solar projects. It is true that we are focusing on utility scale solar projects in particular. And the reason behind is that we are looking for economies of scale to get cheap projects, and that would be profitable for Ugandan people. And the last one is regarding battery storage. Interestingly, we'll have a presentation from our specialized people in Total Energies, Jean-Baptiste and Yael, that will speak afterwards. I think they will be able to address the point regarding the durability of the equipment that is used, and how we can use as much as possible the regional expertise on that domain. And I must say that we also have some solar home system implementation in the African continent. The last question was regarding how we can make our project profitable for both Total Energies and the people in Uganda. I must say that we are working on that with public authorities to bring the best possible location, the best possible projects, to lower the cost of electricity of those projects. And so we are heavily working on the best possible ones to offer the best possible price to authorities and to people from Uganda. So sorry, I have been a bit short, but I think the priority is for the signature.
Thank you, JB. And also to our delegates who fielded questions on battery capacities in terms of storage. We shall respond to this in the next presentation. I think the queries on land use concerns have been addressed. Issues of affordability have also been addressed. Then the question of oil investment versus renewables, Philippe will speak to that. How do we transition from oil and gas to renewables? And on that note, I would like to break into the session we had planned earlier, the signing ceremony of the solar project agreement. Just to give you some background, in February of this year, on the sidelines of the FID ceremony, Total Energies and the Ministry of Energy entered into an MOU that commits to install 1 gigawatt of renewables by 2030. So over the last 8 months, the Ministry and Total Energies have been involved in some consultations and discussions on how do we deploy renewables. And this agreement is the outcome of that. And what it clearly demonstrates is Total Energies' commitment to renewables and to Uganda's development agenda. So I would request Philippe Grex to say a few remarks before we.
Thank you, Zion. Honorable Minister, it's really a pleasure, and all of you, good morning. It's really a pleasure to be here for this signing ceremony. Important milestone for us to demonstrate that we are here in Uganda not only to develop this major oil and gas project, but to be a privileged partner with Ugandan government on the journey to give access to electricity to the vast majority of Ugandan. And when I say access to electricity, is in quantity and of course with affordability. And this signature is important. We are talking about 120 megawatt solar PV, which is significant compared to the installed capacity, projecting that there will be a massive growth on the electricity demand. We know all that access to unlimited electricity is an enabler for economic development all over the planet, and so this project will contribute to help to develop small and medium and industries in the country. Is the first stone on the journey. We do hope that we'll be able to also come back with other agreement, other project, hopefully maybe in hydro. And we have also ambition to be a key player and a key partner on the development of e-mobility. We have more than 200 service stations across the country. And I think we are well placed to help in this development of e-mobility. So we, as already explained, we are a multi-energy company, and we are here to offer and to partner on multi-energy development. This is the first evidence of it. Of course, it doesn't mean that we don't focus anymore on oil and gas. We have a major project which is ongoing towards the first oil in 2025. But we are not in Uganda only for this project. We are here really to help across the whole panel of solutions to develop energy in Uganda. So for me, it's a great moment, it's a great pleasure, and because we are showcasing this willingness really to be this privileged partner. Thank you.
So, Honorable, I would also request that you'd address the delegates.
Yes, first of all, I would wish to appreciate all of you for the discussions that you have had since morning. We came in when you were in the middle of discussion. And the reason we decided to come to interrupt your discussions, but briefly, is actually to announce the intentions that we have as government to partner with Total in developing renewable energy solutions for Uganda. There are a number of projects that are coming, but for now, I would want us to focus on one which is ready, and let's discuss it a little bit more. The MOU which you are going to sign is specific on development of solar solutions. And what we are going to do in this MOU, the intention is to generate data. Data is extremely important for any development on solar. A feasibility study which will give us an insight on what is possible and what's not possible. And it will also enable us to actually determine how much solar is harvestable into energy and how reliable can we make it. And this study should also be talking to other projects, as Filippo has said. We are going to e-mobility. And the e-mobility is going to be in those areas. E-mobility is going to take us even to those areas where there is no grid. How can we get the solutions to e-mobility to the communities which don't have electricity. This study will inform how we can advance that. At the time when we're talking about efficiency and e-mobility, you actually realized that there was work which is going on in some areas. And this one would appear to be only feasible in areas where there is electricity, which is grid. But we want to take this far away from the grid. This study will inform us before we can get on the ground. So this MOU is extremely important. But the partnership which we have with Total Energy will not only end on the feasibility study. We shall be signing another MOU to actually get the infrastructure for the generation of electricity using the solar systems. That's why he's talking about gigawatts. And we have an ambition by 2040 to be at more than 35 megawatts, which would be about 35 gigawatts. And we're only now at 2. So we have a long way to go. And we, as Ugandans, should not be walking. We should actually be running. And not running, should be sprinting to catch up with the rest of the world. So any partner that comes, like Total Energy is coming, we should embrace them, and let's not focus our discussions on petroleum. And there is nothing that is going to stop us from developing our petroleum as a country. It is about us. It's not about anybody else. So let's not ask a lot of questions on petroleum. Let's focus, because that one is a foregone discussion. There's no changing, there's no turning back as a country. So let's focus this discussion. If there are any questions that you are going to raise, we focus it on renewables. And I know Total also has interest in going to other sources of energy and developing them. Hydropower. But I would also wish to encourage them to take something which is close to petroleum, geothermal, because it also takes to drilling to get geothermal energy. And I know we have a potential in the areas along where petroleum is found. This is a discussion we shall continue having with Total Energies. They have not made a final decision where else to go. So the discussions are going to be put on the table, and we shall agree and continue reporting to you. So I wish to thank you for giving us your time and be part of the ceremony of signing. So thank you.
Thank you, Honorable, for your remarks. So at this juncture, I would like our head of legal, Christine, to lead the proceedings of the signing.
We shall take questions after this. Now all these gadgets are in front of me. How am I going to sign? Signing cannot be recorded using these gadgets. We initial all pages, but this one is already signed.
We change?
Not yet.
table, maybe let's take a picture with the sign agreement.
Yeah. We can stand. I think you have taken enough photographs. Yes. So we shall exchange.
You need to exchange?
Yes.
We can shake hands even if it's not the protocol. Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. So we can take a few questions maybe if they want.
In case there are any questions, we can take questions. Okay. All of them. I can see that we have answered all the questions from the brief that we gave. So thank you very much.
Just yes, I have the microphone. Thank you very much. My name is Egangu Shidrak, and I'm very happy that we have signed this memorandum. And mine is just directly to Total. Now that we have this on our way, what is our plan for the PAPs? Are they going to be first priority when it comes to renewable energies? I thank you so much.
Dr. Ruth Ataide, Head of Department, Energy Science and Technology, MOOBS. For us, we are ready to work in data correction. So we have our master's students who are doing energy economics and data, and also PhD students. Total Energies, Ministry of Energy, we are very ready, and we thank you. I'm so happy for the agreement signing. Thank you so much.
Maybe I will just. Thank you very much. I'm Watum Peter, the conservation bio student from Makerere University. I just want to inquire where are the local headquarters of Total EP here in Uganda, so that if it is there, how can I get involved and be part of the team that will do the preliminary studies? Thank you so much. No, you give me.
Thank you so much. My name is Stephen Twisiji. I'm a technology student at Kampala International University. According to the UN Sustainable Development Goal 7 by 2030, it tells us to enhance international cooperation to facilitate access to clean energy, research, and technology, including renewable energy and efficiency and advancement to cleaner fossil fuel technologies and promote investment in energy, infrastructure, and clean energy technology. What does this Sustainable Development Goal number 7 tell us? It tells us to ensure access to affordable and reliable modern energies. I'm so much actually thankful to Total for having led this and signing to this memorandum that but now my question is, how prepared is Total and what measures has it put for this program or for this program of accessing and for accessing affordable and reliable modern energies been put or set? I rest my case. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thanks Total Energy and our ministry. Dr. Brian, I want to thank you a lot, Minister, to being futuristic, focused, and getting good partners. Now, since we have signed a memorandum, we have signed, I'm a citizen of Uganda. I agree that this agreement also includes us as citizens. There's going to be a lot of demand in terms of solar hardwares. Do you, and Uganda being centrally located geographically between big markets like Congo, Rwanda, South Sudan, and do you plan of building maybe solar industries here, and we can generate, we can make these panels here and other generation and other materials that require to generate solar? Do you planning of importing your technology for batteries and maybe collaborate with our academic institution, engineering institution in developing more efficient, since this is the future of energy that is sustainable and protect our environment, and building human resource that requires to work with you than importing labor, but you also build our own capacity, collaborating with our academic institution. Is this inclusive in your plan? Thank you very much.
So I think we'll respond to those. If there are any others, we can fill them in the next round of questions.
Start. Those are all very useful questions, and especially from the youth. I appreciate the questions. All of them are forward-looking. Nobody is looking back. But I want to make it clear, whatever will come out of the study, we shall have time to sit down to discuss how it will be implemented. This is a research, and you cannot preempt answers to research. And it's a responsibility of government to actually implement, and everything that you are asking, it will not be put to Total. We have got to own it as a country. It is about us. It's not about anybody else. The questions which you are asking is actually to government, but Total is only coming to initially carry out a feasibility study. A feasibility study could be that we don't have the manpower, and we shall go back to the training institutions to actually put in place an appropriate manpower to develop those renewable energies. It may be that we don't have infrastructure, and it will be a responsibility of government to engage all partners. The reason why we are actually gathered here is to get the partners to tow the direction of government. So Total is only helping us to make the data available. So we shouldn't push them onto the wall to say, what are you going to do after that? That's a discussion that we can have later. But for now, for me as government, I'm actually looking at the signing of this MOU as a means of getting jobs for you, getting the youth to start thinking and owning the outcome of this. And I don't think Total Energies is going to import data collectors. And I know many of you are actually in ICT. You are on that technology. I would want to ask you to own this and actually demonstrate we have the manpower. Until you produce the results, I still have a big question mark. Yes, I still have a question mark. So I will allow Total to answer specific questions, but where we are going requires information, and it's the information we are generating. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable. So I will try to complement. So first I will answer to where we are located. I'm sure you can Google very easily where is Total Energy EP Uganda is located in the city, better than me, and you will find that we are in Yusuf Lule Road very easily, but I think you don't need more than that. Just Google. There was a first question on PAPS. I'm not sure I got exactly what is your point. I mean, of course, in any activities that we carry in the country, if there is any project affected person, is our first priority to make sure our project will contribute positively for these people, and this is the first priority. Otherwise, there could not be any project. And we are not here, I would say, to make people's life harder. We are here to make sure that our project will help development of people, and the directly affected person will be the first one contributing from what we are doing. So, of course, it's a key priority. In all the projects, it is a key priority on the oil and gas project. It will remain a key priority for any renewable project. A word on the agreement that we signed today. For us, it's more than a feasibility study because we have to demonstrate, of course, to the ministry that we will materialize this project and we can build, I would say, we can build affordable with a low-cost solar energy on all these locations that have been identified. And of course, we need to study first, but we are convinced, very convinced, that it's more than feasibility. We'll go to the implementation phase and will bring, I would say, affordable solar energy on all these locations. You have heard His Excellency in many occasions saying that, and the government, Ministry of Energy saying that the objective is to lower the cost of energy in Uganda, which means that all projects with a unit cost above the current average is not worth to be developed, and all projects with a unit cost lower than the current average will drive the average down and will be a good project supported. So it's up to us to show that we can develop this project at a lower cost than the current average cost of electricity in the country. And I'm sure Honorable Minister will be happy to approve this project when we demonstrate that. But we are very convinced that we will get there, and for all this identified project. Of course, local content is key as well. We have no intention to, I would say, in some particular area, we can bring some expertise. But in renewable, there are a lot of already, thanks to the Makerere University and other universities, there is a lot of competency and skills already existing in the country. And of course, we will capitalize on that. The idea, of course, is to bring job, and local content is also a key success factor for any project that we will do. And it's only on very specialized, innovative, or maybe research and development area where we could bring locally a few, I would say, outside country expertise. But otherwise, you will do this project. All of you in this room that you will do, or your colleagues not in this room that will perform this project. A few comments on geothermal. If you have time to stay in this room, you will have a very interesting presentation from a research of development department in geothermal, and that will speak about a topic that could be of high interest for Uganda. And you will be, it's quite innovative. So I would say expect that you can stay in this room and attend this very interesting session that is yet to come. So that's I think I think we covered the question, but if you have any other one, feel free.
Yes, Honorable was direct that we'll have one more round of questions.
Thank you. Emmanuel is my name, Business Development, Nexus Green. I just have a couple of questions, about 4. The first one is, what's your plan on working with the local companies in Uganda in achieving the 1 gigawatt goal by 2030? The other one is about the exploration of oil. There's been a lot of backlash from the EU in regards to the pollution. Of course, the minister said we shouldn't focus on that. But what's the plan to decarbonize the production and transportation, and how will you work with the local companies to make this a reality? The third one is to Total, and wanted to know what's the criteria for the acquisition of companies, and is acquisition your only plan on how to reach the 1 gigawatt goal by 2030, or there are other ways you can work with the local companies like partnerships? Then the fourth also goes to Total, but I think there is a presentation about that later on, because earlier on in the first session, is there a plan for e-mobility in Uganda, and how can we take advantage of the current infrastructure to promote e-mobility? Thank you.
I'll start again. Those questions are provocative. Actually, what we're talking about throughout this meeting is decarbonization. And as a country, we are actually not the greatest polluters. In the discussions that we have had, we actually pointed out 90% of the energy which is used in Uganda is renewable. But to answer your question specifically, it may not be to Total. We should be going along with the global trends. What's the world doing about decarbonization? There are technologies even on petroleum which can actually help us in the decarbonization drive. And as we go into petroleum production, I hope you have been to the exhibition. Liquefied petroleum gas is actually one way we can actually use our petroleum products to contribute to decarbonization. It's not just about burning fossil fuels the way we have burned them. So most of the technologies which you saw, including this one on promotion of solar, is contributing to decarbonization. Where I would have spent much time on biomass, we're actually telling the population we can do many things using clean energy. The e-mobility that we are talking with the Total Energy is decarbonization. So let's not, that's why I said, let's keep petroleum for another day, and we shall come and talk about petroleum, because we have nothing to hide. Let's focus this one on renewable energies. And now the local companies. The ministry has got a database for local content. And we encourage the local companies to get on that list. It is from that list that we are going to start sieving. Let this be a sort of awareness creation that this is going to happen. And we are not going to hide any information about it. When the studies are going on, it is going to be public. When we come to the development of the few sites that we are starting with, it is going to be public. If you wish, we can tell you about some of the sites we are going to start with. There are about 5 or 6 of them. And you prepare to participate. You need to have something to offer. It is not just a company being a private company, and now the construction of a PVC, I mean a solar station, a generation station is going to be done, then the companies come. You must be relevant. That's a challenge to us Ugandans to actually get into renewable energy and see what we can offer. But we don't expect Total Energies to bring the food, the eggs from abroad, to bring the tomatoes from abroad. So we have so many opportunities that this project is going to present. So we prepare ourselves to do it. So the local content, we have, as a ministry, a policy which is not new to Total Energies of local content. What we can produce, it will be used. We have carried out the studies. How much cement do we have? How much cement is going? We are not going to import cement. If we get into producing steel, we shall do it. The question which was asked about, developing the panels and so on, if we have it, and you, the youth, you are so innovative. I've actually been touring the stalls there, and I think you have a lot to offer as a private sector. But let's commercialize those ideas. So I would wish to request Total Energies to come on.
Yes, thank you. I think we know already quite well Nexus Green. I think we visited you. So, of course, when it relates to execution of this project, we'll first look at what is available and what kind of local partnership we can establish. And as explained by Honorable, we are not going to import tomatoes, and everything which is available in the country will be used as a priority. So Nexus Green could be one partner out of others, but we'll look at the whole market when it will come to the execution phase. What is our acquisition strategy? I will return you the question, is Nexus Green on sale? But I don't know. I mean, we are not really, for now we are focusing on executing project, bringing capacity, and acquisition I think is not really the key topic, is more about development of local and medium small and medium-sized companies with specific competencies that can be used for us, but for other players as well on the market. A word on oil and gas. On this project has a very low carbon footprint. We are talking about 13 kilograms of CO2 per barrel produced, which is far lower than the average all over the world. And how we achieve that? And when I say that, I include Kingfisher, Tilenga, and the EACOP pipeline, all together. And how we manage to achieve that? Of course, to incorporate any low carbon solution in order to reduce, to be able to extract this oil with reducing the emission as low as possible. So we solarize all the pumping stations of the pipeline, we connect it to the grid. This project will be a very good customer for the state-owned company of electricity that will bring a lot of stable revenue because we'll be connected to the grid, and part of the design, of course, is to use some grid electricity capacity. So I think I will close here on that, but be convinced that this project has a very low footprint in terms of CO2 for the scope 1 and 2, which means that what is the energy used to produce 1 barrel of oil. And this you can compare with many others, you will see that is much lower than the average. On e-mobility, as I explained, e-mobility, you know, we need really is a partnership with government. We need to grow infrastructure. We need to grow. We need to go to identify players. I think there is a very nice today small-scale initiative in electrical boda boda. I'm sure you have all seen what could be maybe the first 100% electric car in Kampala, and that belongs to us, to Total Energy Upstream Limited. And we do think we will bring more. So, but it will take some time. We need to grow the infrastructure at the same time as the market. But be sure that we are a partner on that, and we will continue to discuss with the Ministry of Energy and make sure this we can do everything we can to make sure it happens as quickly and as possible in Kampala and across the country.
Thank you, Philippe and Honorable Minister, for your remarks. And Honorable Minister has other pressing engagements, but Honorable, if you'd like to stay around for subsequent presentations, you're welcome to.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable. So, we've been requested by Honorable Minister that we have the presentation on geothermal heat to power through the carbonation process. So online, Dr. Sylvain Calosso, I would request that you would present before John Baptiste for the benefit of our delegation from Ministry of Energy.
Hi everybody, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Doctor. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and thank you to invite me for this conference. As you will understand, I am a scientist, and I've got the opportunity with Total Energy to think about a new project on the energy transition. It's a press study innovation project, and this project is called E3. I will explain what does it means. Okay, This is where we are collectively. I mean, in terms of this incredible increase of energy consumption with time. And this energy consumption is, has to be correlate with greenhouse gases emission, such as the CO2 here in a red curve, the scale on the left. Thanks for this energy, because this energy was a way for us to develop collectively humanity. And today we are in a peak of this energy consumption and greenhouse. We have to do something. So today the fossil energy represents about 80% of our world consumption. And geoscience was mostly dedicated for exploration of this fossil energy, oil and gas, and to produce and to explore this fossil energy. During the past decades, we make huge progress in understanding our deep planet because of a huge data acquisition. But those data are not only telling us something about petroleum basins. There is more. Those data are speaking about fluid rocks interactions and initiate our research into Earth cycles. And this is next, and this is a project I will present to you. Again, it's an innovation project which called eCube for Earth, Energies and Environment. So the beginning of this project was where our planet is delivering the maximum of energy. And the second question is there any virtuous cycle on our planet to find a place to store the CO2? And I can add a third question: is there any synergies between the two initial questions? In fact, if I go to the different axes of the project, we can find a huge quantity of energies in terms of calories, which are delivered at tectonic plate boundaries, and particularly offshore. And we can observe from early 18th these structures, which are hydrothermal vents, and those hydrothermal vents deliver a huge quantity of calories, which is an exchange. If you take a look on the small figure on the bottom right of the slide, it's an exchange between the oceanic domain and active magmatic chamber, where we have a buckle of convection, of water convection, which go from the cold oceanic domain to the magmatic and then expulse at those structures which are hydrothermal vents. The second axis of the project is that we can profit that 70% of the planet is covered with ocean and with oceanic rocks, which are mostly basalts. And during this journey, this travel with waters and magmatic chamber, those basalts lost their CO2, which are going into the oceanic domain. But in a riverside, we know that those basalts are able to react with CO2 and seawater to turn the CO2 into rocks. This is the carbonation, and I will give you some words about that process. First of all, I've heard some question about geothermal. I will give you the figure why my proposition is a little bit different than conventional geothermal. On the left, we have the conventional geothermal, where people drill mostly into an aquifer, and this aquifer is charged with calories coming from conduction from the surrounding rocks. So we are depending on the geothermal gradient, and we have some words about that for Uganda at the very end of the presentation. Okay, so geothermal gradient, drilling into an aquifer, but if you want to produce energy, produce electricity, for example, with this geothermal, you deplete the calories coming from the aquifer, and if you deplete too fast, because you need power, you need to redrill again and redrill again. Another example is in Italy. If we go next to volcanoes, we can have phreatic eruption. So this volcanic eruption will destroy a part of your aquifer, and you can lose from one day to another day a significant part of your power. In my proposition for E-Cube project, we are not drilling into an aquifer because we are in oceanic domain. We are already into the aquifer. The way we go is, in fact, the exchange between oceanic domain and magmatic chamber is convection, open convection between cold to hot and then hot to cold domain. On top of that, you can add that we are in active tectonic domains where the magmatic chamber is renewed permanently, meaning that, in fact, you have infinite resources at human scale, and we are, of course, mostly offshore. Another point I will discuss a little bit later is the amount of temperature we are looking for. So in conventional, on the left on my slide, in conventional geothermal, people are looking for 200 degrees Celsius, and a well at that temperature is able to deliver about 5 megawatt electric. If you double the temperature going to supercritical condition of water, you multiply by 10 the energy which is delivered because of the enthalpy of this process. So one well will be able to deliver 50 megawatt electric. So doubling the temperature corresponds to multiply by 10 the energy we can deliver. And we know in the context we are looking for, I mean hydrothermal context, this temperature, supercritical condition of temperature, are at seabed or close to seabed. So that represents, in fact, a very focused energy where it's published that we can expect hundreds of megawatt to tens of gigawatt electric per site. So it's a huge amount of energy. So speaking about site, where can we play this kind of project? Today I'm constrained with scientific missions all over the world, and this is the different dots you have on the map. And we select different criteria of selection, which are not to go too deep because it will be very expensive, not to go too far for the same reason, and to stay in an exclusive zone of exploitation by 100 kilometers from coastline. We try to address different geological context, and we try to stay in countries where we have already business. I haven't spoke yet about carbonatation, but we expect having no or few sediment on top of the oceanic crust for the carbonatation process. I will speak of it later. So at the end, we identify about 10 sites, and I retain only 3 because of the different context of market. I will make a detail for the Mexico, Gulf of California. So do not be afraid, I will not go in detail, but we work with academic institute, the CICES, which is a Mexican institute, to collect data, bathymetric data, where the active vent versus the inactive one, the chemical nature of the rocks, the chemical nature of the fluid, all the elements which are present in the fluid, and the geological succession of basalts. And we were able to build that kind of cross-section. So this is a water depth by about 200 and 300 meter water depth, position of the active and inactive vents. And what we expect to drill is that 400 degrees Celsius supercritical condition of seawater. So we imagine a process where we drill it below the active vent on top of magmatic chamber, and we produce this fluid up to a semi-sub platform at surface. So we have done the calculation of all the process from pressure and temperature at depth, at wellhead, and then to conduct it up to the semi-sub. So we worked with Ormat, which are playing with us for this project. Ormat is a worldwide major of geothermal energy onshore, and they tried to play with us for this project offshore. And at the end, we are able to compute, to imagine and to modelize that with only 3 wells, only 3 production wells, we were able to produce, to have 220 megawatt electric net for this kind of installation. And then we export this electricity, because we convert those calories into electricity, and we export it with a cable, 100-kilometer cable, to the customers. So different academic institute work, play with us to design this project. We have done the same. I spoke about Italy and Taiwan. So we contact different academic institutes in Italy, and we have done the same kind of work in terms of cross-section, what is the depth of the 400 degrees Celsius, and the design to produce such energy. So this is a number for the same kind of design, I mean 3 wells only, for Italy and for Taiwan, where we spoke with a Taiwanese institute to build that cross-section as well. So at the end, we were able to establish what could be the costs of the whole installation, to try to work on economics. And on this diagram, we put the LCOE, so the cost of the electricity. The LCOE means levelized cost of energy, or levelized cost of electricity. So for the 3 sites, Taiwan, Italy, and Mexico, with a net present value at 0. So on the vertical axis, this is the price of the energy. And on the background, on the back of my slide, we have the price of the different energy with 10 years of evolution from about 210 to 2019. And okay, so this is the evolution of the cost of the energy. And when we put our points of price of our energy, it's not economic today. We have to include that we are comparing prices by end of 2019, while we are in 22, and as you know, there's a huge increase of prices since end of 21 and 22. So this arrow indicates the increase of the prices by the end of 21, plus 15%. So, okay, still not at the level of offshore wind, for example. And how we proceed is we take those points and we use the learning rate, the learning curve in 10 years from offshore energy to propagate what will be the price if we go to gigawatt in terms of energy production. And when we push this extrapolation to gigawatt, you can see that this project could play in the garden of prices for nuclear energy. So this is very encouraging results. Of course, it's preliminary figures, but it's just an overview of what we can do with it kind of huge energy which is delivered by our planet. The second axis is carbonatation. So what is carbonatation? It's the capability of the oceanic rocks, basalts, to react with seawater, CO2 dissolved. And then when the reaction is done, you obtain, this is the core here, you obtain carbonates. So carbonates is that whitish minerals you can see on the core. There is a huge amount of publication about that subject through the scientific community. And the last one, it's a Nature review from Icelandic guys. It's from Sandra Sandsbjørndóttir in 2020. And she said that only the orange domain, which is on my world map, represent between 100,000 to 250,000 gigaton of CO2 capability of storage. If you extrapolate all the oceanic domain, we are speaking about 1 million of gigaton of CO2 capability storage. Today, in fact, there are pilots, and one of them, the well-known one, is Carbfix. They are playing since 10 years by injecting their CO2 coming from geothermal power into basalts and melting this CO2 with waters and react with basalts to make that carbonates. This scientific project, Carbfix, so Icelandic project, moves today to an industrial project which is called Coda Terminal, and they expect to receive boats with CO2, and those boats will deliver CO2 into an intermediate tank, and then from this intermediate tank will melt with waters to react with basalt for turn this CO2 definitively into rocks. For our concern, in fact, we are expecting to play with seawaters, which is a different subject that Icelandic guys is playing, because Icelandic is today playing with fresh water, but expect to move with Coda Terminal with seawater CO2 dissolved. How it will work? So for that, I contact Professor Erik Olkers. This is his picture. Professor Erik Olkers is the father of this Icelandic project. And together we try to build a very basic concept where we have a pipe with seawater. Within this pipe, we have a pipe-in-pipe where we bubble the CO2 into this seawater at a certain amount of temperature and pressure to saturate the seawater with CO2. So we dissolved the CO2 into seawater, making this mixture acidic. And this mixture is injected into a column of basalts at about 500 meters burial, below sea bottom. And first of all, we have to know that the formation water into the basalts is about 8 in pH, so lightly alkaline. And the first reaction will appear is a dissolution of metallic cation, whatever, so it's dissolution of the basalts, and this mixture will transport this metallic cation to react far from the injection point when the pH is moving to greater than 6 to initiate the precipitation of carbonate. So you have, let's say, a centripete reaction which never block the well, which is a good point for us, and make possible this reaction between CO2 dissolved into seawater and basalts. To evaluate the capability for worldwide, we try to make our own evaluation of the capability of storage, about 2 million of gigaton of CO2 worldwide, taking into account all the Medio-oceanic ridges, plus all the volcanoes, which are the small dots we have here. We design for one affiliate what could be the process to inject, and we evaluate the cost of the transport and storage. Sorry, I will not give you the numbers today because it's not stable yet. What are the perspectives? We want to go to pilot. We want to go to a carbonatation pilot and a heat power pilot. So for both axes of this project, and expecting to deliver results from 6 to 8 years from the beginning to the demonstration of each pilot. And then when this demonstration, the pilot answers the different challenge we had, we can move to industrial pilots and opening probably a new business market for each of them or both of them. So let's say that today TotalEnergies have no commitment into that project. We have a steering committee by December of this year, and I present you this project, and we are looking for expression of interest for any partners, let's say academic, where we have already some of them, or industrial. What is interesting for this project is it's addressing all our inheritance from exploration, drilling, process, carbon capture, power, and export up to customer. And this is at the end, the DNA, sorry, of TotalEnergies. Okay, so I just had one slide before concluding completely my presentation. Is about Uganda. You know better than me that you have no oceanic domain in Uganda, and during the questions, I've heard a lot of questions about geothermal. So you are in Uganda in a very good place for onshore geothermal power, both because of production of heat, and you can use heat, for example, for the pipe, to heat the oil, which is too viscous to be exported. You have this point, or you can use this energy for production of electricity. Because, as you may know, you are in a transition between this Eastern African rift and different main transfer faults or transfer zone, which make favorable the process of hydrothermal circulation, deep hydrothermal circulation along the main faults, and in particular at the intersection between the main faults. The average gradient, geothermal gradient for Uganda is about 100 degrees Celsius per kilometer. So today there is a huge opening of geothermal, deep geothermal for different solutions of producing electricity with geothermal, in particular for this supercritical condition, but not offshore, but onshore. and in particular the society IVOR. We are looking very special publication from IVOR are looking for supercritical condition in continental domain where we are not so far in Uganda. Thank you very much, and if you have any question, I will be happy to answer you.
Thank you, Dr. Sylvain. Maybe, Honorable, do you have a, I know it's an area of interest for you.
It is okay.
Thank you very much for that presentation. When you were initially talking about offshore in the oceans, I was just scratching my head. What's there for me in Uganda? And I was actually counting losses. But then when you came down to the opportunities in Uganda, the studies at an initial phase, there is a lot of studies that are required. And my question is, how can we partner with you to develop that into a potential into reality? I see how it ties very well with Total Energy. And that's what I was actually initially talking about. It sells even the initiatives that we have in extraction of petroleum, because this complements and makes it more attractive, the partnership that we are having with Total Energies. If we can dive deep into that potential, and in your presentation, it can be used for heating, our petrol oil is waxy, and we need to get it out. Maybe that would improve even the extraction rate, if we can develop that, because they are all within the same region. The question to you, you are an academic, and all behind me here are youth who are interested in this. I see this a lot of chemistry you are doing. I wish I could get younger, but I can't go back to school. I would wish you to come out clearly to tell this youth, these are the opportunities and this is what you need. And then you come to me and say, these are the opportunities we can use to partner to develop this, carry out the study, and let the figures and the feasibility study work out into tangible results and projects which can produce energy.
Okay, if I try to give you some element of the answer. So as you said, I'm an academic, I'm a researcher, so I will not take a position about the strategy of Total Energy to go to geothermal. So speaking only about technical and scientific, as you said, and you maybe know better than me, opportunity you have into Uganda. Total Energy has experience of subsurface, has experience of drilling, and has experience of interpretation of what happened in terms of thermal activity behind your feet, under your feet, in this area. So, as you said, and as I said, there is different possibilities and different steps you can play. And I mean heat first for facilitate the circulation of oil. Frigory as well, it's the opposite of calories. Using a working fluid, we can convert it to capture the calories from surface and to change it into frigories to refresh your home, for example. But you can play greater, going for conventional geothermal, so producing this deep fluid at hot temperature to make electricity. Or the second step is not to capture this fluid, but have a deep working fluid with an organic cranking cycle. It's a geothermal, thermodynamic process where with a working fluid, so it's a closed loop, we can circulate this fluid and produce a huge amount of energy, of electricity. So in your country, you have the possibility to test the different steps of where we are in terms of possibilities of techniques of geothermal you can play in Uganda.
Thank you. If I may contribute to the answer, Honorable, of course, it's a very interesting topic for us, and you can see that we are working on it actively all over the planet. And so here in Uganda, I think we need to discuss further how we can create. I mean, the level of maturity you have seen is not the same as for solar and wind. We need to continue to work, and there is still need for academic work to confirm the potential, to confirm what is the best development scheme adapted to Uganda. But let's discuss how we can partner in order to speed up this topic in Uganda, particularly in Uganda. And I'm very open to continue this discussion, maybe outside this room, and to see if we can establish a partnership on this particular topic.
You, the youth, should have clapped for that, because I triggered it, and then I've got a response that I'd wanted. But I wouldn't wish to let the academician go, the researcher go without clarifying. You know, the formula of playing with carbon dioxide and water and reacting with the is it balsatite? I don't remember. Balsatite. How can we develop that? Is it only applicable? I see on the temperatures in the bay offshore. And I was just wondering. I also looked at your map, and all of it was running around the sea. Have you done any studies of on land to also look for those opportunities, and then do some research using maybe fresh water and carbon dioxide? Can we create those reactions? And I see a huge potential for having heat, increased heat, and energy generated.
Yeah, so I'm not a specialist about your country. I've read some scientific papers plus internal document. So for carbonization, so we need to map where are the basalts and how alterate, how weathered are the basalts, because the more they are weathered, the less they can carbonate for CO2 capture. So first of all, we need a geological and petrographical study to make an evaluation first at surface, and then if any sample at depth with wells, we can probably imagine what could be the resources you have for carbonation. And for the rest, we will be very happy to collaborate with your academics to make a better evaluation of the possibility if this topic has to come in our Total Energy strategy.
Yeah, that response is provocative. And, you know, I'm interested in getting all the potentials for energy generation in the country, such that it informs the strategy to develop them. I don't know whom I will discuss with, again, establishing the training of the universities to carry out those necessary studies. Do I still talk to him, or I talk, he's my neighbor. So thank you, we shall develop that again, the studies. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm not asking from the technical standpoint, but I'm asking from an administrator standpoint as a person who mobilizes different material resources to attain a certain goal. In terms of your presentation, I'm wondering what pathway do you charter to develop, or what policy leadership do you put in place to ensure that, and plans for the future to ensure that you achieve this technical capability that enables you to convert all these resources into industrial advantage that has sparked socio-economic development for your country? In how a country like Uganda, what time do we have, what policy do we need in place, what leadership we need to develop policy to get on that pathway? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sylvain. My question is a bit technical. In your presentation, you've used carbonation as a method of capture of carbon dioxide. But for us, on our side as Uganda, we are looking at green hydrogen and maybe blue hydrogen. Maybe I would like also to contextualize that so that maybe I can rule out carbonation when it comes to the Uganda's case, because we are in the fresh waters. And then another question, most of our resources, geothermal resources, we have geysers and fumaroles, plus hot springs. And your presentation was hinging on hot springs, where the medium of interest here is water. But we have a mixture of gas and water. So I would like also a clarification on that. And in cases where we have the gaseous media as the only present medium in this case. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Dr. Sylvain, before you respond to that, I believe, okay. Doctor, go ahead.
Okay, so I took the different questions, and probably I'm not the good person to answer about how Uganda, I need to work more with you, I need to exchange more with you. How about how we can develop such geothermal energy or thinking with university and Uganda. So it's a question I can leave on the side and maybe have a discussion in another opportunity. About carbonation processes, so the problem of the carbonation is we need a lot of water to do it. So it's the reason why it's difficult to promote carbonation onshore, because the amount of water will probably have an impact on available water for population. And it's the reason why we move offshore. And we add on that the process of carbonation, the chemical reaction of carbonation could induce earthquakes and seismic activity. And of course, it's another challenge for acceptability for population. And it's the reason why, again, we move offshore. Nevertheless, for example, in Icelandic countries where water is abundant, fresh water is abundant, population accept completely having a small seismic activity for this topic. You have in Uganda fumarole with water and gas. And today we know our geothermal guys like Ormat, we play with, have to know how to separate non-condensable gases and waters or other fluids. So it's not a problem to make that separation. with the, let's say, the geofluid and the different gases, even to collect those gases, even if CO2 or H2S, to be re-injected somewhere or capture or transport somewhere for another use, or carbonatation if we have to play with carbonatation in another country offshore. What is interesting for your country, for geothermal, if I add a cheer on your cake, is those fluids linked to deep magmatic chamber, active magmatic chamber, liberate a lot of metallic and other gases. We can probably play with those resources like lithium, cobalt, zinc, or copper. So I don't know for Uganda, but it's very possible that you can have those metallic resources and other gases resources like helium or hydrogen, native hydrogen. So all those gases could be present in the geofluid, which is coming from deep magmatic chamber and migrated with faults at surface. It's just an opportunity. I open questions to discuss about the deep opportunity you could have in Uganda.
No, thank you. So it's a very passionate topic. We know there is a topic. We feel there is a topic, but it's not for tomorrow, and we need to continue to study and all these fantastic ideas that we need to dig in together and find a way maybe to accelerate the research and development on this topic, but is not yet at the level of developing solar and wind. But I think it's an important topic for Uganda. Uganda has already confirmed as a potential. So now we need to study more to make sure we can convert this potential into industrial applications. And as said, you know, when you start digging, you will find maybe other opportunities like extracting lithium, cobalt, etc. from these deep gases. So let's rediscuss aside how we can maybe accelerate and partner to accelerate this R&D here in Uganda.
So with that offer from Total Energies, we need to clap. It is actually an area for tomorrow. It is not for today. You can see all of it is still raw science, but that science has to be turned into a tangible output. So this is where we can actually now talk with the Total Energies to see how we can do that research together and the studies to inform whether some of these things are possible in Uganda. So I wish to request that we end here with Philippe and we'll allow you to continue. So thank you very much.
So maybe another round of applause for Dr. Sylvain. So we'll go into our last presentation, and it will be presented by Jean-Baptiste Boutan. He's a renewables architect with OneTech and also a project manager on solar hybrid.
Hello everyone, thank you very much for having invited me at this seminar. It's an honor for me to present you the experience on the order of Total Energies in terms of renewable integration, both in grid network, but also in the B2B segment, especially the industrial. So as says I am a hybrid project technical manager. So by hybrid project, we speak about a project which interface different kind of source of energies like PV plus fossil fuel energies or renewable energies with BESS. And I am also with Yael Wibo.
Hello everyone, I'm very pleased to present this presentation about renewable energy and hybrid storage on the renewable assets of TotalEnergies. BESS business developer, that means battery energy storage system business developer for the company. And I'm working currently on European geography as well as international geographies. I let Jean-Baptiste Vézine to present the different projects and the structure of projects we have in the company.
So regarding the agenda, so first I will explain you the basic architecture and design of the BESS system, battery energy storage system. After that, we will give you some insight about the possibility of the hybridization, so the concept and the concept associated. We will present you after the TotalEnergies experience and ambition in BESS and hybrid system. And after that, we will present some case projects we are already developed, which will project in operation, but also project in development, which are representative of our experience in this technology.
JB, could you please share your screen?
Oh, sorry, no problem.
Can you see our screen?
No, we can't see your screen.
Okay, let me check. And do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for the mistake. Okay. Okay. So what is a BESS system? So a BESS system is composed of two key elements. So the first one is the energy container in which the modules are stored. So in the module we store the energy in a chemical matter, especially the lithium elements. All the modules are connected in series and are closed in a container to ensure that they are in a controlled environment, both in terms of temperature and humidity, in order to improve the lifetime of the cells and limit the degradation of the system. To do that, there is an HVAC system associated to this container just to control the temperature of the humidity. The different containers are connected to what we call a power conversion system, so which is basically an inverter with the transformers. So the inverter will transform the electricity to DC, from DC to AC current, and the transformer will increase the voltage of the electricity to be sure that we are at the right voltage to export the electricity to the grid. So the system is working both in charge and in discharge mode in order to store the energy and give it back to the grid when it is needed. To this BESS system, we can also add a renewable plant, both wind farm or a solar farm, in order to improve the availability of the renewable resources by using the services offered by the BESS system. We'll now present you the concepts relating to the hybridization and the possibility that the BESS can bring to the renewable system.
Okay, so let's talk about services given by the batteries for standalone system, like batteries directly connected to transmission or transport grid, or project combined with renewables called the hybridized project. So there is different services associated to this kind of projects, short-term services, like services which have a duration like 30 seconds to 1 hour, mid-term services 1 hour to 2 hours, and more long-term services. So there is 6, here you can see 6 boxes, okay? 3 for standalone application and 3 for hybridization project. So the grid services, it's aimed at stabilizing the frequency of the grid, of the transport grid. And for example, in France, it's called, or in Europe, it's called FCR, and it's the battery inject or absorb energy in the grid to give this service of stabilization of frequency, to keep the frequency always equal to 50 Hertz. The peak shaving capacity, it is more focused to provide capacity to meet peak demand of the power system. So the system is functioning perfectly, and the demand and production perfectly match. And long-term service means that the battery can charge at the hour of the lowest prices of the system on the spot market, and discharges at the highest with the highest prices, which means that the battery is balancing prices. If many batteries do this service, that means that the prices are going to be more balanced and more equilibrated. So passing to services combined with renewables, the ROM control can allow to fight against meteorological events. For example, cloud passing in front of the sun, meaning that the production of solar panels is diminishing very abruptly, and so the battery can limit the rate of ramping up or ramping down. Here it is mid-term services for combined with renewables, imbalance management. It can be used to keep the solar production, for example, or renewable production into a forecast window for industrial purposes or industrial needs, for example. And the last but not least, the energy shifting energy shifting will make it possible to move solar production, for example, on a daily basis, to make available the solar production when there is no production, for example, during the night. So energy storage basically serves to displace the energy in time, to equilibrate and balance the network and the grid, the electricity grid, and to displace energy in time in order to make available solar or renewable production in time when there is not, when the meteorological conditions doesn't allow it. So I had the presentation to Jean-Baptiste to present the main services and for cross-hybridization.
So we can also use the BESS to combine a fossil-free generation with a renewable one. So the idea is to replace, for example, the generation coming from genset or gas turbine with renewable production when available. And so we replace an expensive electricity due to the diesel or gas price with a low carbonized and cheap electricity coming from the renewables. So in this kind of system, there is 3 main elements. So the PV plant. The PV plant will produce the energies during the day and reduce the load factor of the genset or the gas turbine to reduce the fuel gas consumption or the diesel consumption of the sites. There is the gas turbine or the genset. So the genset will at the night produce all the load when the renewable production is not available. And during the day, the GT will produce only part of the load because the other part is produced by the PV plant. And the last part, which is the main equipment, is the batteries. In order to make this system working, we need to have some batteries. So there is up to 3 roles depending on the design of the system. So the first one will be the PV variability control. So the goal is to ensure that the PV instantaneous variation of the production due to the weather change remain within the GT ramp-up rates to ensure that all the time the demand and the production of the site is balancing. The second services offered by the batteries is the spinning reserve replacement. The goal is to optimize the GT, the power generation unit functioning. In fact, on most of the industrial sites, the system is sized in N+1, meaning that there is always one turbine turned on, which is not necessary to produce the load, but we keep this turbine turned on in order to be able, if there is a trip of one turbine, to be able to produce all the load. So in this kind of system, the load factor of the GT is not optimized, meaning that we will consume more fuel and emit more CO2 emission. So by adding a BESS, we can turn off this turbine, which is offering the spinning reserve. So we replace the spinning reserve by the BESS. And so we optimize the load factor of the GTs and thus optimize the fuel gas consumption of the GT. And the last role that can be played by the batteries is the peak shifting. If there is an overproduction of the renewable plant, we store the energies in the BESS and we can give it back to the system at a time when the renewable plant is not produced. So you can see on the right of the slide a little schematic of the functioning of an hybrid system. So we can see in blue the load demand, in orange the GT production. So during the night, all the GT is producing all the load because there is no renewable production in yellow. When the sun began to rise, the PV plant began to produce, and so the GT load factor is reducing. We can see there is huge variation of the PV production due to the weather. For example, the cloud which is covers the sun for the PV plant. And so we use the BESS in green to smooth the PV signal and to only inject the blue curves, which is a more smooth renewable curve, which is compliant with the GT ramp-up. At the end of the day, we can see that we reach the minimum power of the GTs, meaning we cannot inject more renewable plants in the system. So all the additional energy which is not used by the PV plant is stored in the BESS. And it will be given back at the end of the day, thanks to the peak shifting application, and increase thus the renewable penetration. So now we have an overview of the services that can be offered by a BESS in terms of integrating renewables. I will present you the experience of TotalEnergies and its ambition both in terms of BESS and hybrid system.
So, TotalEnergies has developed large-scale storage projects around the world. We all know TotalEnergies as an integrated and international energy company, and it's important to remember that TotalEnergies has great renewable energy ambitions and wishes to accompany each country in its energy transition, such as Uganda. As you can see, our current project and those under development and construction are mainly located in France and the USA as part of co-development with group subsidiaries, for example. So we are developing currently Grand Puy, Garland, Dunkerque, which are projects in France, and Texas project as Myrtle and Danish, which represent a portfolio of 700 megawatt hours in the production of construction. And we have other projects under development in Europe, a project in construction in Mayotte, helping electricity of Mayotte to supporting and to balancing its grid system, and other projects in opportunity in development in Europe, and particularly in Belgium, Germany, Spain, UK, Japan, and Netherlands.
Today, TotalEnergies has already developed a unique know-how in hybrid system with more than 15 projects in operation. You can see that these projects are mostly located in French overseas, La Martinique, Guadeloupe, La Réunion, and New Caledonia. But also focus on developing this kind of projects in Africa or in Europe. So most of these projects are renewable, integrated with BESS and connected to the grid, but we are also looking to develop renewable with fossil fuel generation, with, for example, the example of the plant of Essakane in Burkina Faso. I will take the opportunity of this seminar to present you more in more detail about this project. So we solarize an off-grid mine by interfacing some gensets with the solar plant. These unique portfolio of projects give us a very good experience in developing this kind of system, which are quite unusual today. It's not the mainstream, it's not mainstream project, and we are today trying to develop this kind of system at a larger scale, both on our own asset, but also with our industrial partners. So I just present you some of projects in advanced development. When I mean advanced development, it means that the FID has already, so the final investment decision has already been taken, or it's close to be taken. For example, we are developing a project with Prony, a mine in New Caledonia, for developing a 40 megawatt PV plant associated with 10 megawatt DESS plant. But we are also looking to larger projects with, for example, a project in South Africa. It's a call center there we win in South Africa, which is called Hydra, with a 160 megawatt peak and a 300 megawatt hour. So we are really trying to upscale these technologies to larger, to benefit both the grid but also our industrial partners from the BESS service.
So, TotalEnergies aimed at hybridizing its own assets and also supports its industrial partners in the development of hybrid projects to achieve their climate commitments and to achieve TotalEnergies climate commitment as well. So TotalEnergies can offer different commercial solutions to its clients, in particular PPAs, which allows on the one hand to secure the project on the development side, and on the other hand to allow a shared use of the assets according to the chosen contractual chains. We all know renewables, PPA for renewables project. This involves energy sold at a fixed price or at an indexed price, indexed to a defined index. Okay, and for storage, it's a little bit different. There is several schemes which are possible, which are detailed below. Storage availability payments, okay, for imbalance management purposes and electricity supply risk mitigation. This is a payment in dollar by capacity, by megawatts, okay. Or leasing of the battery and operation by the off-taker or the client himself, okay, in euro or dollar by year, and with a premium at the installation or not. So these different schemes allows a partnership important between industrial partners and TotalEnergies to achieve an electricity mix manageable, let's say, and to achieve the climate commitments industrial partners on TotalEnergies have been committed to. And we can achieve this matter, we can achieve this goal by and through the ESS value chain across the company himself. Okay, so TotalEnergies is fortunate to be present across a very large amount of countries and to be present across the entire battery value chain. So you can see SAFT there which is the favorite provider of Lion battery of Total Energy. It's a battery company with a long history of expertise in the sector, and thus allow Total Energy to be competitive on its project through the synergy naturally created on battery projects. At the end of the chain, let's say, we have the luck also to have TotalFlex TGP, okay, which is the aggregator of Total Energy, and which enables it to create a country-wide portfolio for the countries in which Total Energy is present and is building and developing projects. In addition, Total Energy has experience on large international projects, such as oil and gas projects, but also renewable projects around the world. So its project management expertise enables it to offer to its clients important partners and important skills, such as EPC partnership, for example, as we had for French project with Amexa, which is a subsidiary of Vinci Energy. And the presence of Total Energy on all the value chain allows us to have an integrated vision on the projects and the strategic vision for the company and for the countries we are developing in. So let's present now case presentation. Project we are currently working on or a project already developed. So we are starting with a project in Netherlands.
So the goal is to illustrate how Total achieved to develop renewable for industrial or for grid operator, and illustrates how the BESS can improve the penetration of renewables. So this first project is a project in Netherlands for the Zeeland refinery, which is a refinery owned by Total Energies. So the goal was to develop the PV plant to reduce the electricity bills paid by Zeeland to the grid, because Zeeland was relying on the grid for all this electricity consumption. So Zeeland have make available, so the refinery has made available around 12 hectares for the PV development, and Total Energy Renewables has developed all the projects, both in terms of permitting, EPC, construction and operation, and developed a 12 megawatt peak PV plant. You can see here a photo of the PV plant just next to the refinery boundaries, and this PV plant enabled to decrease by around 10% the grid importation of the refinery from the grid, and thus reduce the electricity bills of the plant. So the key success, and we are trying now to develop this kind of project in other countries with other industrial partners. Another project, so I speak a little bit about before. So it's the ESSACAM project. So it is also the same kind of project. It's a PV only project, but in this case, the off-taker, which was a gold mine in Burkina Faso, is not connected to the grid. Is relying on its own power generation system to provide its electricity, which is composed on 11 Wärtsilä engines. They use this Wärtsilä engine to produce their 353 gigawatt-hour of electricity need per year. On the ID for this plant, so they are facing very huge challenge in terms of fuel supply chain, but also in terms of fuel price. So the price of the fuel was very high, and so they would like to reduce this bill linked to this fuel and engage discussion with Total Energy to develop these renewable projects. So we interface with this genset, a 15 megawatt PV plant, which is almost 30% of the thermal capacity. And it's helped today because the project is currently in operation. You can see a photo on the right of the slide. It's helped to reduce by 8% the production of electricity coming from the Wärtsilä engine, and so to reduce almost by 8% the fuel consumption of the site. So it's a significant reduction of the barrel, and today our client is very satisfied with this kind of with this system we are developing for it. And so it's developing through a PPA agreement, meaning that we also TotalEnergies take the responsibility for the permitting, the EPC selection, the construction, the operation, and supply the electricity, the green electricity to the sites through a fixed tariff in dollar, which is paid in dollar per megawatt hour supplied by the.
So let's talk about our Dunkerque project. Dunkerque project is the main project of TotalEnergies for standalone batteries in the standalone batteries area. 2 years ago, TotalEnergies participated in a long-term tender, AOLT, which enabled it to develop a large pipe of project, largest industrial-scale battery project in France. And for the moment, there is 3 projects which are currently in operation. Okay, so it's AOLT. This tender was from the French TSO in order to facilitate the renewable integration, the renewable asset integration into the grid and into the electrical French electrical system. And the main BSS use case in this project is grid services. So the battery participates to the FCR, the grid services, the main grid services in France, to balance and equilibrate the frequency into the transport grid. The project here is 25 megawatts and 1 hour battery projects. And here you can see a basic protocol and state of charge of battery during the day. So this project and the size of this project show perfectly that TotalEnergies can manage a high level of competency and project maturity for industrial scale standalone battery project, France, in Europe, and at international. And staying in France, we are going to talk about Martinique and La Montagne, which is more an hybrid plant, an energy plant with storage.
So let's discuss now about the plant of Lamentin in La Martinique, in France oversea, in the Caribbean Sea. So the context, it's an island environment with a weak grid because the local electricity is mainly produced by one fossil generation. This fossil plant generates almost 75% of the island consumption, meaning if there is only one problem on this fossil plant, there is a high risk of blackout of the island grid. But regarding this, and also the ambition of the local TSO to develop renewable, in fact, they would like to reach a high penetration rate of renewable. Today it's around 25%, and they would like to increase it in the future to get one. I think it's a very, very high level of renewable, like 90 or 100%. So they cannot just add PV plant or wind farm. They need to use the batteries in order to develop an hybrid system in order to both answering the grid balancing and cope the risk of blackout linked to the one fossil fuel generation. And also use the batteries to cope the peak hour of the grid by shifting part of the energy coming from the sun, from the solar, at the end of the day during the evening. So in fact, you can see here a typical day of functioning of this hybrid system. So as a developer, we commit ourselves on a profile, which is the range bound, so we will commit ourselves to export a fixed profile for each day, and we need to meet it in order because we are facing penalties if we are not doing this. So by using the BESS in red, we managed to put the PV production within the profile we commit ourselves at the beginning of the day, and we store the additional energies. And after that, we give back these energies during the peak hour as asked by the TSO to help the grid to balance the grid during the peak hours. So we developed a 4 megawatt peak PV plant associated with a 4 megawatt hours BESS plant, and it helped to inject about 1 gigawatt hours per year of renewable energies, both during the day and during the peak hours, as asked by the TSO. It is currently a plant which is in operation since now, I think, 5 or 4 years, and it's a very performant plant without any problem, meaning that we are now able to develop complex hybrid system which are complied to a forecast with a shifting of the part of the renewable energies during the evening. I propose you now to present you a project which is currently in development in Nigeria called OML 58. So we are trying to develop an hybrid project for integrating with the fossil fuel generation in an off-grid oil facility which is owned by Total Energies. So the main goal of this hybrid project is to reduce the CO2 emission of the power generation units. So this context, so it's an oil gas asset located in Nigeria, which is producing oil for 25% of its production, and gas 75%. So the seats roughly consume 9 megawatts from these fuel gas energies and emits to produce this electricity about 70,000 tons of CO2 per year. And this site has the ambition to reduce by 40% its Scope 2 emission by 2030, meaning they need to develop some renewable solution or to mitigate the CO2 emission. So a first step is to install this demonstrator before scaling this hybrid technology on larger projects on the other asset of the company, while also reducing the site CO2 emission. So we plan to install a 5 megawatt PV plant associated with a 6.6 megawatt hour BESS plant to reduce by 11 kilotons per year the CO2 emission, meaning we are looking to reduce by 16% the CO2 emission of the PGU, of the power generation unit, thanks to this hybrid system. The cost of this hybrid system is about $36 per ton of CO2, and it should be operating in 2020. The BESS are used in this case to replace the spinning reserve by maximizing the renewable penetration on the site and optimizing the GT load factor, and thus the CO2 emission of the GTs. But also, it's a ramp-up control to ensure that, to ease the interfacing between the renewable and the genset and the gas turbine, to ensure that the variation of the PV production stay within the GT ramp-up. The hybrid project will create some revenues associated, so there will be some gas savings because we reduce the gas consumption of the site that can be sold on the local market, and we also avoid CO2 taxes by reducing the CO2 emission of the site.
So I'm gonna talk about our American project in Texas, Milton and Danish. So it's a panel of 2 projects with PV plants, and it's 300 megawatts and 450 megawatt hours. So one hour and a half of battery storage. So what is the context of Texas? Texas is a state that is electrically managed as an island, so like almost isolated, in order to manage the energy in this standalone way, with very few interconnections outside, and at the same time to integrate renewable capacity to achieve their climate commitments. Texas needs medium and short-term storage, okay, to integrate the renewable production. In ERCOT, ERCOT is the grid, the Texas grid, okay. The spot market is highly volatile, okay, because of this insular manner which is managed in Texas, and so you can see peak prices on the daily basis in this graphic. And to mitigate the risk of high volatility of the spot market and to integrate renewable, TotalEnergies and Texas facilitate it. TotalEnergies Renewables develop battery projects on a very large industrial scale, because 300 megawatts are very high scale potential and high scale projects. And so the main business use case there is energy arbitrage, like as explained by Jean-Baptiste. The battery can be used to manage the production of the PV plant and to displace the charge during the day. Okay? So 75% of the overall revenue of the project is based on this energy arbitrage, displacing charge on the charging when the prices are low and discharging when the prices are high, which, as I explained before, to balance the prices and to mitigate the volatility risk within the market. And 25% of overall revenues is extracted from grid services. So balancing and equilibrating the frequency, keep it in the forecast of sustained forecast of 50 Hertz on the day. And this kind of project of high scale, as I explained, can allow to TotalFlex and to the company, to TGP, so the trading part of the company, and to the company to manage their imbalances inside of the country and inside of the Texas TotalEnergies portfolio. So it allows to mitigate the risk of supply on electricity and to reduce the cost of imbalances due to bad forecast, bad meteor forecast, for example, bad climate forecasts, or changing prices due to energy crisis, for example. So these projects are helping TotalEnergies to achieve climate commitment, climate goals, and it's very important for us to manage our imbalances and our overall portfolio. And it can, for us, it's an opportunity to help us achieving our goals and to help the country, here, the state of Texas, to balance the grid and integrate renewables. So we can see that TotalEnergies now have an experience, a high experience in hybrid projects and standalone projects at utility scale, so big projects or more integrated projects in, for example, in the company assets or helping industrials to achieve their climate commitment, and can totally help countries as Uganda to achieve climate goal as well. So thank you very much for your attention, and please ask any question. Feel free to ask any question you have.
Thank you, Jean-Baptiste and Yael, for your presentation. We are running out of time, so we shall make time for a couple of questions if there are any.
Yeah, good midday. My name is Marco Stadler. I'm from Germany, actually a greenfield developer in Germany. I have actually 3 but very short questions. The first question is related. We all know our phones are giving us, after 2 years, a headache with the batteries. So how long is it usually foreseen to keep the battery systems in place before they have to be replaced? The second question is, I know that the delivering times at the moment are, let's say, extreme on the market of bigger battery storage systems. Like, what is your actual situation at the market? Because I'm not from the market. And the last question is, sorry, I forgot it. So lucky you.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. So the first question about the degradation of the battery and the lifespan of the battery. So first thing to remember, the batteries in your phone and the batteries used for utility scale project are not the same. So it's not the same chemical. Also, they don't have the same lifetime. Today, a battery can so the degradation of the battery will depend on the number of cycles, on the depth of discharge you ask for each cycle during the project lifetime of the BESS. But usually, we can see that BESS can live until 20 years. It's difficult after that. So meaning that when we are signing or developing projects with BESS, we are committing ourselves for 15 or 20 years. Regarding the current market situation is on delivery time, in fact, yes, you're right. Today there is a huge competition between the electrical vehicle market and the utility scale market for energy application. There is a few delay. The delay has increased today to deliver the BESS. But thanks to SAFT, we are today able to deliver a project in less than something like 2 years. And so we are able to meet rapidly, fastly, the development schedule asked by our client.
Any more questions before we close the presentations? I think that is all. So one more time, allow me to thank JB and Yael for their presentations. So as we wrap up, I would just like to reiterate that what we witnessed today is the signing of the solar project agreement between the Ministry of Energy and Total Energies. What the agreement, in terms of high-level detail, the agreement provides exclusivity to Total Energies for studies that will build into actual implementation of 6 sites. 6 sites identified across Uganda with a combined capacity of 120 megawatts. Each site, 20 megawatts. If, in terms of siting, we have Kapeka, we have Iganga, we have Tororo, we have Kumi, Bukedia, and Palisa. These are sites that are located within industrial load centers and with close proximity to the grid. And the idea is for these to be grid-connected sites. So in terms of next steps, we shall be applying for the permitting from the regulator and conduct these studies. We have exclusivity for a period of 2 years. And hopefully, based on the feasibility studies, we shall move into actual development of the sites. I would also like to say that as part of the energy cluster on e-mobility, we continue to support electric vehicle uptake through our downstream service stations. We recently signed an MOU for hosting of battery swapping stations, that's for the two-wheelers. And we're also looking at hosting charging stations for electric buses, that's with KMC. Then also, as discussed, we are, yesterday Philippe mentioned it, we are heavily involved in the low low carbon mobility fuels, that is biodiesel. And we're still in discussions with the ministry. It's still preliminary, but we hope within the next year or so to roll out a pilot project on biofuel blending. Then, as part of the next steps, partnership on the deep geothermal that was presented by Dr. Sylvain Calosso. We shall open a discussion with the Ministry of Energy and also affiliate academic institutions to see how we can share synergies. And in closing, I would like to thank you all for taking your time. It's been a rather long session, 3 hours plus, but I thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your attention. And this brings a close to our session. Thank you very much. And the flash discs that you have information, all the slides that have been presented, and also other knowledge products on Total Energies. I think we still have time for lunch. Thank you.
Renewables are the future, but what if there's no wind or the sun isn't shining? At Total Energies, we've got the solution: storage. The extra resource these energies need to balance the production and use of electricity. And this is what that means. At Dunkirk, we have built and commissioned the largest site for battery electricity storage in France. Its capacity is 61 megawatts, which keeps the electricity supply going for 1 hour in over 200,000 homes.
France has the target to develop the renewables in the electrical mix up to 40% by 2040. As such, renewables are bringing intermittency, variability on the grid. We need to have storage solutions in order to balance the grid, which means just adapting the consumption with the generation at the same time.
In Dunkirk, Total Energies teams work together on the design of the installation of the supply of batteries by its SACT affiliate, via the management of data estimating the use and sale of electricity and the storage capacity. The result was optimized project management and compliance with the highest standards of quality and safety.
We have built a power plant, a battery energy solution system. It is constituted by 27 SAF containers, high energy intention products, which are connected with the power conversion system to the grid.
Let's zoom in on the heart of the system. The containers, 20 feet long and 28 tons. They use lithium-ion technology and deliver energy performance at the top end of the market.
The key advantage of lithium-ion batteries are several. One is the high density. Today, batteries can reach up to 400 watt-hour liter in a very dense pack. Another advantage is that they can live long. Today, the life cycle is reaching up to 20 years. Another advantage is the efficiency. Today, lithium-ion batteries are reaching 98% efficiency, which means only 2% of the energy is taken from the process from charging to the charge. Also, lithium batteries are very cost-effective.
The result is an innovative bespoke site that helps to integrate renewables into the energy mix. And as our solution can be replicated all over the world, we have every reason to store tomorrow's energy today.
Team, thank you very much for the session. It was very fun. Thank you very much.
My email works perfectly, and for you,
We have to find this later. We couldn't leave the I don't know what to let you know. We haven't been here.
much, Christine. Thank you very much. Have a good rest and a good weekend. See you on Monday. What are you doing in London? I know you.
No, the thing is we had already signed.
Our Ugandan story isn't a new one. It's not about where we come from. It's about what can be accomplished when we're working, living, and growing
the main
together.
difference
It's
is
about
that an
speaking
MOU
the
is
same
usually
language,
very
the
soft in terms
language
of
of
engagement.
progress.